Welcome back to Andy and Anna Talks, where we answer the questions of modern life. And today we're diving into a big one. Is real love still possible in 2025?
Wow, yeah. That's a question that really hits home for a lot of people right now, doesn't it?
It really does.
Especially when you think about, how we connect these days. It's all apps, screens, sometimes even AI. It
Yeah.
just feels so different from, well, how our parents or grandparents met.
Totally different. You're just scrolling and scrolling, seeing these like perfectly curated lives. It makes you wonder, can something actually real and like lasting grow out of all that?
Or are we just settling, getting used to connections that feel kind of shallow?
Yeah, are we settling? That's the core of it, isn't it? Are we building real bonds or just something that looks like it?
Maybe looking back helps. Like, how did love even work before all this tech?
Okay, yeah, let's do that because historically,
Wow.
well, it was wild. It wasn't about like bumping into your soulmate at the coffee shop.
Not at all. Most of human history, relationships were really tied up with survival, with social status, economics.
Right.
Your choices were like super limited. Who lived nearby? What did your family need? Who did they approve of? The community played a huge role.
So it wasn't really about individual desire, finding your perfect match, more about keeping the family going, keeping the community stable.
Exactly. And there were all these, rituals, social rules. Courtship took time. It wasn't instant.
You had chaperones, introductions.
Yeah.
It was a slow burn, very deliberate.
Yeah, deliberate is a good word.
Mm.
Compare that to now. One source called it Uberized love.
Uberized. I like that. Like ordering up a date on demand.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
Swipe, match, maybe meet, quick, easy. Some call it fast food dating.
Fast food dating. Okay. That sounds kind of bleak, though. Is it all bad?
Well, no, that's the flip side. We've gone from these small, tight-knit pools to this massive digital ocean of people. And that means...
Choice. Like incredible choice. You could connect with someone amazing on the other side of the world.
Absolutely. The potential to find someone who really, truly gets you, regardless of where they live. That's huge. It's empowering in a way.
But there's always a but, isn't there?
There usually is. The sheer amount of choice, it brings its own problems. It's this weird paradox.
Okay, I think I know where you're going. It's like
Yeah,
you have so many options you can't actually choose. You're always wondering.
exactly. Is the next person better? Is there someone more perfect, just one more swipe away?
Yeah, that fear of missing out. FOMO, but for partners.
Right. And it's like we're shopping for love, applying this consumer mindset, always comparing, always looking for the upgrade, maybe never fully investing in what's right in front of us.
So let's talk about the apps themselves. Tinder, Hinge, Bumble. They're basically the main way people meet now, right?
For many, yes,
Yeah.
definitely a huge part of the landscape.
But what are they actually doing to how we connect? Is there like a hidden downside to all that swiping? Are we losing some of the, I don't know, the magic?
Well, one thing to consider is how they're designed. The whole swipe mechanic, getting a match, it feels good, right?
Well, yeah, it's a little rush.
It's a dopamine hit. Your brain's reward system lights up. It's almost like a slot machine. It keeps you coming back for more.
So it kind of gamifies connection. Less about finding someone, more about playing the game, getting that little thrill.
That can definitely happen. But, we have to be fair. People do meet on these apps.
Oh, for sure. I know people who met their partners, even got married from apps. It happens.
It absolutely does. They're a tool, and sometimes they work really well, connecting people who might never have crossed paths otherwise.
Yeah.
But think about the business model.
Right. They want users, active users.
Exactly. If you find your perfect match and delete the app, well, you're not a customer anymore.
So maybe their goal isn't really to help you find lasting love and leave. It's more about keeping you engaged.
It's a potential conflict of interest, you could say. The algorithms might be pushing you towards more browsing, more matching, rather than focusing on one promising connection. Plus, let's not forget the bad experiences.
Ugh. Yeah. Ghosting, flakiness. It can be brutal.
It really can. And that kind of stuff chips away at your trust, makes you kind of weary, emotionally tired.
Okay, so if dating apps are complicated, and maybe real-world dating feels tough too, where else are people looking for that feeling of connection? That brings us to parasocial relationships.
Right. These connections people form with online creators, influencers, streamers.
Where you feel like you really know them, even though it's totally one-sided.
Exactly. And that feeling, that sense of closeness, can be really comforting, especially, if you're feeling lonely or isolated. It's like having a friend who's always there.
Yeah, I can see that. It's a constant presence, someone sharing their life, even if it's curated.
And that's a key word, curated. These online personas are often polished, edited. They present this ideal version.
Which is way less messy than dealing with real people's flaws and complexities.
Precisely. So the worry is, are we sometimes replacing the difficult but rewarding work of real relationships with these easier, cleaner online versions?
And taking that even further, we have AI companions now. Things like Replica, virtual boyfriends or girlfriends. I hear that's getting big in some places like China.
It is gaining traction. These AI offer, well, a simulation of companionship, affection even, without any of the arguments, the disappointments, the effort of a real relationship.
Just constant agreement and validation. But is that real? Is it love? Or is it just like a really convincing simulation, a convincing lie, as one source put it?
It's a million-dollar question, isn't it? It might feel good, it might meet a surface need for attention, but it lacks, well, everything that makes a human relationship real. Mutual understanding, shared history, growth through challenges.
Yeah, the messy stuff, the important stuff.
Right. So maybe the rise of this virtual intimacy says something about us.
Yeah.
About how much we crave connection, but also maybe how scared we are of the vulnerability it requires.
All this definitely feels like it's shaking up the old rules about relationships. Like, everything's more fluid now.
It does seem that way. We're seeing more variety, things like post-label relationships, where people don't need strict definitions, more openness to polyamory, just more emotional fluidity, as some call it.
But that fluidity also means ambiguity, like things are less clear-cut.
That's definitely part of it. Look at how common things like ghosting have become.
Right.
Or situationships, that vague space between friendship and a relationship.
Right. The what are we conversation that nobody wants to have.
Exactly. There's this hesitation sometimes, a reluctance to fully commit to define things, keeping options open.
The maybe culture, which, okay, on one hand feels kind of freeing, like no pressure, no labels.
It can be liberating, sure, not being forced into old boxes.
Yeah.
But the flip side is uncertainty, anxiety. Does keeping options open mean we never really choose?
Like, are we maybe just afraid to commit? And we call it being flexible.
It's a possibility. If you're always half looking for something else, always distracted by the next potential match, are you giving the relationship you have the focus and energy it needs to actually grow?
That's a really good point. But it's not all confusion and fear, right? Some of these changes are positive.
Oh, absolutely. Think about how queer relationships, for example, have often challenged traditional norms and really focused on emotional connection, on building partnerships based on mutual respect, not just outdated roles.
Yeah, redefining love based on what actually matters between people, not just what society used to expect.
Exactly. And that focus on emotional depth, on shared values, regardless of the structure, that's incredibly positive. It shows love can take many healthy forms.
It just feels like we're all figuring it out as we go along. Like that source said, building IKEA relationships with no manual.
That's such a great metaphor. We've got all the pieces, all these new options and ideas, but no clear blueprint for how to put them together anymore.
So a lot of trial and error. And maybe confusion.
Yeah, definitely some confusion. And that leads nicely into this idea of pseudo-relationships.
Okay, what does that mean exactly? Pseudo-relationships.
It's basically connection without real commitment, intimacy without real vulnerability, touch without real trust. It kind of looks like a relationship from the outside.
But it's missing the core ingredients.
Exactly. You might have the constant texting, the sharing memes, the inside jokes, all the surface stuff that makes you feel close.
Right. It mimics closeness.
But it often skips the harder parts, the compromise, the patience, showing up when things are tough, being truly present, not just digitally available.
It sounds like performing a relationship instead of living one. Like that phrase, love cosplay.
That's a perfect way to put it, love cosplay.
Yeah.
You're playing the part, maybe even enjoying the role, but there's no genuine emotional skin in the game. It's performance, not partnership.
Wow. Okay. So we've talked about apps, AI, shifting norms, pseudo-connections. Sounds pretty challenging out there. Which brings us back to the big question. Is real love actually still possible in 2025?
You know, despite all these hurdles, all these distractions and complexities, I really believe it is. Deep down, that desire for genuine connection, for real love, that's fundamental. It hasn't gone away.
But maybe it looks different now, or it's harder to find, or harder to hold on to.
I think maybe all of the above. It might be less common, perhaps, because it requires something that's increasingly rare in our noisy, fast-paced world.
Which is?
Focus. Presence.
Yeah.
Real dedicated attention. You have to consciously choose to tune out the noise, to resist the endless scrolling, and actually invest in one person in building something real.
And you have to be willing to be vulnerable, which seems harder than ever when we're all hiding behind filtered photos and carefully crafted online versions of ourselves.
That fear of vulnerability is huge. Real intimacy means letting someone see you, truly see you, flaws and all. And yeah, that's scary. But it's also essential for deep connection. That core human need to be truly known and accepted, that hasn't changed.
So maybe the problem isn't that we can't love anymore. Maybe it's more that we're tired, overwhelmed by choice, overstimulated by tech, maybe a bit emotionally shut down because of it all.
I think that's a really important distinction. The capacity for love is still there. It's just navigating a much trickier environment. Our modern habits, the digital landscape, they can make it harder to nurture love, to sustain it.
So actually choosing to fully commit, to be vulnerable, to prioritize a relationship, that's kind of a big deal now.
It really is. In this context, it feels, well, almost revolutionary.
A radical act of devotion, someone called it.
Yeah, or like a quiet rebellion against the superficial, against the constant churn.
Okay. So love is maybe being rebooted for 2025. New features, some cool updates maybe, but also some serious bugs and glitches we need to watch out for.
That's a great way to think about it. We're hyper-connected technologically, right?
Yeah.
But achieving genuine intimacy, that deep connection, the path feels maybe a bit more winding now.
Yeah, more obstacles.
But real love isn't dead. Not at all. It just demands more from us, I think. More awareness of these digital traps, more conscious effort to prioritize what's real over what just simulates closeness.
So the advice is be intentional, be a bit brave, push back against the algorithms and the easy comfort of something less.
Exactly. Resist settling for the pseudo relationship, the convenient connection that doesn't actually feed your soul. Finding that deep, meaningful love might take more work now, more courage, maybe.
But it's still possible.
Absolutely. Still possible, still real. And maybe, just maybe, more precious than ever because of the effort it takes.
Still real. Okay, something to think about. See you next week on Andy Ann Talks.